The movie begins with Gwen and Grandpa Max hanging upside down, their limbs bound by chains in Dr. Animo's laboratory. Tension mounts as Dr. Animo sets a 1-minute countdown to his nuclear reactor, intending to de-revolutionize the world by shattering his DNA reactor into the environment. However, with a huge blast, Ben crashes through the laboratory wall, transforming into Heat Blast. Fearlessly, Heat Blast confronts Dr. Animo, urging him to abandon his dangerous plans. Yet Dr. Animo remains stubborn, commanding his monstrous mutant insect to engage Heat Blast in a fierce battle. Until the countdown nears its end, the clash erupts, with Heat Blast launching fireballs while the massive insect strikes back with its razor-sharp blades. In the midst of the intense fight, Heat Blast seizes the opportunity to burn the chains that bind his family, freeing Gwen and Grandpa Max. Reacting quickly, Grandpa Max deploys a grappling gun, securing it to a sturdy pole to ensure their safety. The insect launches another attack, targeting them both, but they manage to narrowly escape, leaving it behind with its legs trapped in the ground. On the other hand, Animo threatens Ben, saying he can't stop the blast, but Ben decides to heat up the system, risking the consequences. Gwen warns him about the potential dangers, but Ben insists that not doing anything would be even worse. Animo shouts that he's overloading the system and flees from the scene. Suddenly, the countdown reaches 0 and an error message appears on the screen. No explosions occur. Ben breathes a sigh of relief and assures Gwen and Grandpa that the mission is accomplished. However, a siren blares from the nuclear reactor, and energy waves are emitted which hit Ben, spreading out quickly. His Omnitrix also experiences electrical surges. Grandpa and Gwen swiftly find shelter and remain unaffected by the waves. Ben then returns to his normal state, and Animo, riding on his insect, arrives to tell Ben that he ruined his plan but warns him of future success. Animo then flies away. Grandpa quickly checks on Ben's well-being, and Ben assures him that being Heat Blast protected him from the DNA wave. Suddenly, the Omnitrix emits an orange light and then returns to its normal green glow. Excited, Ben prepares to fight against Dr. Animo by transforming into Stinkfly, but unexpectedly changes into Wildmutt, Diamond Head, and finally, Gray Matter. Gwen asks Ben how he plans to fight Dr. Animo now, but Ben takes a moment to think, preparing his strategy. In the following scene, Dr. Animo is flying above another nuclear reactor when Gray Matter arrives on a hoverboard and delivers a direct hit to Animo's face. However, the hoverboard ends up falling into a pool of chemicals. Seizing the opportunity, Animo grabs Gray Matter, hurling him into a tub filled with more chemicals. Ben, struggling to hold on, manages to grab onto a chain just before plunging into the tub, saving himself from the hazardous substance. Unaware of his surroundings, Dr. Animo crashes into a pipe, rendering him unconscious. Meanwhile, Ben suddenly reverts to his normal state, causing him to lose his grip on the pipe and fall into the tub. Acting swiftly, Gwen uses her magical abilities to create a protective bubble shield around Ben. We then find ourselves in a mall where Ben is attempting some flashy moves in front of a mannequin, while Gwen is busy shopping for different pants. It's evident that Ben is not enjoying himself, and Grandpa Max takes a moment to explain to him that they can't always go along with his plans, and Gwen also deserves to pursue her own interests. Suddenly, the Omnitrix is struck by the orange light once again, creating an orange ball that explodes, causing clothes to scatter everywhere, ultimately leading to the three of them being kicked out of the mall. Gwen expresses her anger towards Ben, blaming him for their expulsion. Later that night, while the three are asleep inside the rust bucket, a bright light wakes the Tennysons up at 3:30 a.m. They discover a spacecraft belonging to Destructs has landed. Destructs informs them that the Omnitrix has entered a self-destruct mode, which will ultimately destroy the wearer. He explains that only Azimuth, the creator of the Omnitrix, can deactivate it, but his current whereabouts are unknown. To locate Azimuth, they need to use the Omnitrix to scan the galaxy for his DNA. However, time is running out as the Omnitrix is nearing its explosion point. Destructs takes Ben with him, emphasizing the urgency of the situation. Ben then explores the whole of Destructs' spaceship and is then introduced to Gluto, the ship's pilot. The spaceship suddenly launches into space and Destructs begins his scanning. Meanwhile, Vilgax is in the midst of hijacking an alien ship for his own nefarious purposes when he receives a notification that the Omnitrix is in space. Back on Destructs' ship, the Omnitrix's scanning begins, causing Ben to feel increasingly anxious. After an extensive search, Tetrax finally detects a DNA signal linked to azimuth, revealing that the person with the DNA is in incarceration. Determined, Tetrax instructs Gluto to set a course for Incarsicon. Suddenly, the security alarms activate, indicating an intruder has infiltrated their spacecraft. Tetrax and Ben decide to search different areas of the spacecraft. Ben intends to transform into Accelerate, but the Omnitrix surprises him by transforming him into Wild Mutt instead. Utilizing his heightened sense of smell, Wild Mutt locates the person and captures them only to realize it's Gwen. Amid the confusion, Ben accidentally presses a button, causing the spacecraft door to open. The increasing pressure starts to push them both toward the open door. Gwen loses her grip, but Wild Mutt manages to save her. Wild Mutt eventually loses his hold as well, but Tetrax arrives just in time to rescue them both. Curious about Gwen's presence, Tetrax questions her and she reveals that she's worried about Ben. Tetrax then alerts them that the countdown of the Omnitrix is intensifying, urging them to pick up the pace. In the next moment, Ben finds himself enjoying Tetrax's holographic area when Gwen joins him and asks if he's feeling stressed about the situation. Ben reassures her that they have the power to handle it, but Gwen reminds him that azimuth would only deactivate the Omnitrix, not repair it. Ben becomes disheartened and accidentally falls off the hover he was just riding on. Just then Tetrax appears and tells Ben that he's done many good deeds with it, but now should live as a normal person. He also warns Ben not to activate the watch, as it will accelerate the countdown. However, a sudden explosion erupts from the Omnitrix, hurling Ben to the side. Upon arriving at Incarsicon, a voice message greets them, giving them a choice to identify themselves or face destruction. Tetrax attempts various codes, but each one fails, increasing their anxiety as they anticipated potential attacks. However, the final code is accepted, granting them entry into Incarsicon. Tetrax instructs Ben and Gwen to wear alien costumes to blend in since there are no guards present, and the aliens engage in reckless fights. Munching over each other, he advises them to stay in one location until he ensures their safety. Suddenly, Ben recognizes Vilgax and transforms into Upchuck to attack him. In the meantime, Tetrax battles 6-6, however, Upchuck is unexpectedly captured by an alien, revealing herself to be someone else, and tosses Ben aside, causing him to revert to his normal state. It becomes evident that they are humans, and surrounding aliens close in on them. Ben and Gwen quickly grab pipes from the surroundings and begin defending themselves by striking back at the aliens. Tetrax and 6-6 fight each other until Tetrax notices the commotion and comes to Ben and Gwen's aid. They are confronted by prisoners, but they manage to hold their own. Azimuth, disguised as a female chimera sui generis, recognizes the Omnitrix and reveals herself. She offers to fix the Omnitrix if they free her. In the chaos, Ben is captured briefly but escapes when the Omnitrix discharges huge energy, providing cover for their escape. Gwen and Tetrax rush to Ben's side, and they all make it onto Gluto's ship, with prisoners following them. They fend off the prisoners and allow azimuth to enter the ship. 662 enters but is hurled away into space. However, it is later revealed that azimuth is actually Myax, azimuth's assistant, who manipulated them to seek recognition. It will not only destroy Ben, but also cause a universe-threatening ripple. Tetrax reveals the gravity of their mission, including the risk of universe-wide destruction. She also reveals over Tetrax's threat to throw her out, that azimuth is in Xenon, which makes Tetrax really tense. Myax explains that azimuth added the self-destruct feature to the Omnitrix as a safeguard against misuse. Tetrax is confronted by Ben's anger for keeping the severity of the situation hidden. Tetrax admits that he thought Ben would prioritize his own interests over the greater danger. This prompts Ben to question his motives for using the Omnitrix, and whether he genuinely helps others or seeks a personal thrill. Meanwhile, Vilgax becomes aware of the Omnitrix signal and heads toward Incarsicon. Myax installs an inhibitor in the Omnitrix to control the energy bursts. The group reaches Xenon, a hidden planet cloaked by azimuth's light-absorbing device. Surrounding Xenon is an asteroid belt filled with failed attempts to penetrate its defenses. Ben is sent outside the ship to guide them through the asteroid field using the Omnitrix's homing device. His action brings light back to the quadrant and the asteroid field. However, Vilgax and his biooids intercept them, trying to seize the Omnitrix. Tetrax provides Ben with an escape pod, but Ben struggles to operate it. Tetrax manages to defeat the biooids inside the ship while Ben's pod heads toward a piece of debris. Ben masters pod control and evades pursuing mecha droids en route to the ship. Tetrax equips Myax, and together they detach the ship from Vilgax's tethers. Vilgax and 66 encounter Gluto in the control room. Ben becomes mecha droids while Gwen uses magic to destroy biooids. Ben reaches the ship, defeats 66, and Gwen is saved by Gluto, who is smashed by the fire. Though the pod explodes, Ben safely lands on the ship where he meets Vilgax. Ben warns Vilgax about the impending self-destruction of the Omnitrix. But Vilgax remains thick-skinned. Max and Tetrax detach their ship from Vilgax's. Ben's attempt to negotiate with Vilgax fails, leading him to open the hatch, sending Vilgax hurtling into space. Ben aids Gwen in piloting the ship, resulting in a collision with a rock pillar. They narrowly prevent the ship from falling into a canyon. The group discovers Azimuth's compound overrun by aggressive Florana. Gwen is abducted underground, and despite the self-destruct countdown, Ben transforms into Four Arms in a desperate attempt to save her. However, he is engulfed by vines and unable to rescue Gwen, as she is consumed. Despite Four Arms' relentless efforts, he fails to open the hatch, and Tetrax delivers the heartbreaking news that Gwen cannot be saved. Consumed by a mix of fury and guilt, Ben directs his anger towards Myax, holding her partially responsible for the tragic outcome. And regretting Gwen's sacrificial act, Tetrax steps in, urging them to focus on Azimuth, the potential survivor of the attack. As they embark on their journey, Tetrax opens up about his own past as a mercenary, recounting how he underwent a transformation after causing the destruction of his own home planet. Ben, weighed down by remorse, takes full accountability for his reckless actions, realizing the potential connection to triggering the self-destruct mode. Amidst their discussion, a mishap occurs when Myax unintentionally triggers a security laser, but Tetrax swiftly acts, saving Ben from the ensuing energy field. Their path leads them to encounter Azimuth, the enigmatic creator of the Omnitrix, who dismisses Ben's pleas to deactivate the self-destruct sequence. Fueled by overwhelming anger, Ben taps into his cannon bolt form, his determination driving him to relentlessly break through the doors standing in their way. Inside Azimuth's sanctum, Cannon Bolt demands the immediate deactivation of the Omnitrix. However, Azimuth stubbornly refuses, prompting Ben to declare his determination to defeat Azimuth himself before the universe's impending destruction. With a forceful blow, Ben destroys Azimuth's suit, revealing his Galvan form. As Cannon Bolt reverts back to Ben, Tetrax implores Azimuth to stop the countdown. Azimuth, who sees no value in humanity, argues that the universe's ending is the best outcome. He reveals that the Omnitrix was intended to foster understanding among diverse beings, but its perception as a weapon has been tainted by individuals like Ben and Vilgax. Ben passionately shares his growth and the times he used the Omnitrix selflessly to protect others, finally causing Vilgax to reconsider. As the sanctum crumbles, the group escapes outside to face Vilgax, 66, and their army of mecha droids and biooids. In the midst of the ensuing battle, Gwen resurfaces accompanied by Gluto. Overjoyed, Ben rushes to embrace Gwen, learning that Gluto regenerated and saved her from the wild Florana. Amidst the chaos, 66 attacks while mechadroids and biooids advance. With Gwen's spell and Ben's resourcefulness, they fight back, eventually culminating in Ben removing the Omnitrix's energy burst deflection device, unleashing a devastating blast that obliterates the biooids and repels Vilgax and 66. Azimuth deactivates the Omnitrix by removing the dial. Facing a final battle, Ben dismisses the Omnitrix worth, prompting Azimuth to reclaim the dial. Tetrax defeats a mechadroid while Gwen reminds Ben that he can be a hero without relying solely on the Omnitrix. Azimuth reattaches the dial, triggering the Omnitrix's reactivation, enabling Ben to transform into the mighty Way Big! Way Big vanquishes Vilgax's forces, and despite Vilgax's resistance, hurls him deep into space. After the battle, Azimuth constructs a ship using the remains of the mechadroids. Ben expresses gratitude for fixing the Omnitrix and offers to return it. However, Azimuth insists that Ben can keep it, realizing the potential for understanding others beyond himself. As Azimuth completes his ship, Myax accompanies him. Ben requests master control, but Azimuth departs, sarcastically suggesting Ben should figure it out like a true hero. Surprisingly, Gluto reveals his ability to comprehend English and understands Ben's insults that he used on him. Tetrax drops off Ben and Gwen on Earth, equipping Ben with a new hoverboard. As they listen to a radio report of zombies attacking the mall, the team prepares to fight against them. The end. Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos and make sure to subscribe and tap that bell icon to be notified about our latest videos. We'll see you next time.